I recently asked you guys for suggestions and Rob440 gave me the idea to cover something paranormal. I haven't looked at a haunting in a while, so I loved the idea. So let's head over to the UK and look at the story of water pools mysteriously appearing, lights that turn off and on again, furniture overturning, pictures being slashed, objects which fly through the air and levitate, strange knocking sounds, other objects that disappear and reappear, foul smells, farmyard noises, heavy breathing sounds, and sudden drops in temperature. It's time for the Black Monk of Pontefract. Let's take a look. Welcome to IF, videos on history, mystery and the strange. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video again. The topic of ghosts and investigations into paranormal activity has been gaining in popularity of late. Many television shows document ghost hunts and the adventures of paranormal investigators. Most of these shows come up short in the evidence which they gather. One location they should be descending on is the town of Pontefract. Pontefract being an historic market town of West Yorkshire, England. This old English town is famous for its cakes, small black circular sweets made of licorice. It is also famous for its ghosts, with one in particular being said to be very dangerous, a rather volatile, frightening and violent entity that has come to be known as the Black Monk. The story begins at number 30 East Drive of Chequersfield Estate, East Yorkshire. Jean and Joe Pritchard, their son Philip, aged 15, and daughter Diane, aged 12, called this house home. For a number of years they lived happily at the address. This was until strange phenomena began to occur, working in cycles which would sometimes see activity on a daily basis, but broken by long periods of silence, sometimes lasting for weeks at a time. But eventually, the weird goings-on would always resume. Water pools, lights flicking on and off, furniture being tossed around, pictures being torn, objects flying through the air and even levitating in place, knocking and banging sounds, disappearing and reappearing objects, foul smells, bizarrely farmyard noises with heavy breathing sounds, sudden temperature drops, and the appearance of an entity that is believed to be causing all of the chaos. A mysterious black-robed figure that would become known as the Black Monk of Pontefract. These strange events first started back in the August bank holiday weekend of 1966. The Pritchards had been holidaying in the southwest of the country, leaving their son, 15-year-old Philip, at home with his grandmother, Sarah Scholes. The grandmother was the first to experience the ever-increasing paranormal activity at the house. It started out simply with cold breezes, but quickly escalated when the boy noticed strange white powder falling from the mid-air all around the living room and onto the floor. White powder would make many suspicious, but the boy and his grandmother believed that this was dust falling from the ceiling. This in itself would have been strange, as the family said the house had recently been redecorated and well cleaned. To be a little skeptical, this decorating work might have disturbed some dirt which could have been caught in the air, but that doesn't explain the other strange events to come. Confused and a little scared, the grandmother fetched the daughter, Mary Kelly, who just happened to live across the street. The woman also saw the white powder falling to the ground and went into the kitchen to grab a cloth to clean up this mess. She slipped in a pool of water that had mysteriously appeared from nowhere. This puddle was the first of many which would materialize. It's important to note that it was at this point that the house was inspected for water leaks. The water was even shut off, yet the puddles kept appearing. With the water shut off, explanations for these puddles are harder to find. Jumping forward to 7 p.m. that evening, the grandmother settled down to watch a little TV. Her relaxation was broken when the boy Philip shouted, "Grandma, it's happening again!" The grandmother went to the kitchen, where she and the boy saw the kitchen worktop covered with sugar and dry tea leaves that neither of them had spilt. Then, the button on the tea dispenser began to slowly move in and out, covering the draining board in tea. As if this wasn't strange enough, the tea maker still pumped tea over the kitchen counter even when it was empty. An event not easily dismissed. The terrified woman shouted, "Stop!" As she did, there came a thunderous crash which echoed from the hallway. Opening the kitchen door and looking for the source of the noise, the pair saw nothing. The activity was just starting up The two made their way to the stairs, investigating the loud sound, and this is when they found a plant that was normally at the bottom, now halfway up the stairs and missing its pot, the pot being located on the landing above. With only the two of them being in the house, who could have moved the heavy plant? Confused, the silence was broken once again by loud noises, but this time they were coming from the kitchen. Heading back into the room they came from, they happened upon something they could not easily explain. The cupboards which housed the crockery were vibrating and the dishes rattling and the door shaking as if the objects had come to life and were trying to escape the cupboard prison. As all this happened, a noticeable chill filled the room, a drop in temperature being something that is said to occur when a ghost is present. The three sat talking and trying to find a reason for what had just happened. Then, at around 9:30 p.m, Marie left and Philip and his grandmother decided to go to bed. After locking up and turning off the downstairs lights, Sarah went into Philip's room to wish him good night. As she did so, a heavy chest of drawers began to sway, again with no explanation as to why. This was the final straw. They left the house and went to sleep at a neighbour's, fearing for their safety. When Mr. and Mrs. Pritchard returned home from their holiday, the strange activity stopped. 2 years passed by, and the house was quiet, not even the slightest bit of paranormal activity. This peace would come to an abrupt end. In the following years, the family would be faced with increasingly strange phenomena. It became so commonplace that the poltergeist became known to the Pritchard family as Fred. Over the years, the family's resolve would be tested by many violent events. The daughter, Diane, was often thrown from her bed. In one particularly frightening encounter, she was dragged upstairs by her throat, the invisible hand that had grabbed her, leaving scratch marks on her neck. Almost daily, unexplainable crashing and thumping sounds were heard, objects flew through the air, and many other strange events disturbed the family's life. So they decided to fight back. On 2 occasions, exorcisms were attempted. This only seemed to make the situation worse. The family needed help. Facing an escalation in malevolent activity, the family appealed to the church for help. Several exorcisms were performed on the house, during which crucifixes were yanked from the hands of the priest and smashed into pieces. Inverted crosses would appear, painted or scrawled upon the walls in red and black ink, neither of which were kept in the house. During one of these exorcisms, an invisible hand held a candlestick to the priest's face. The terrified clergyman fled and never returned. The ghost then began to take a physical form, at first in the middle of the night as a dark shape standing at the foot of the beds, staring at different family members. On other occasions, the family would wake to see a figure in flowing black robes hovering over them as they slept. The ghost was dressed in black robes and a hood covering the face, this reminding the family of a medieval monk, and earned the apparition its nickname, the Black Monk. The Black Monk's attacks grew in ferocity. Unexplainable scratches and bruises would appear on the daughter's body, she being the focus of the ghost's anger, and would sometimes be thrown from her bed, and at least on one occasion was choked and slapped by an unseen force. This all happening in full view of many witnesses. Possibly the scariest incident which happened was when the girl's hair was seen to stand up as if someone were pulling or yanking on it, after which the girl was forcefully dragged up the stairs kicking and screaming. This was the final straw. The family couldn't get the help they needed from the church and turned to paranormal investigators. The researchers looked at the history of the house and uncovered some interesting details about the land on which the house sat. Paranormal investigator Tom Cunniff discovered that not only had the area once been the site of a bloody battle, but also that it had once been used as the town gallows. Hundreds of people had met their demise at the hands of the executioner, where the Pritchards now sat watching TV. One story that offered an identity to the angry spirit was the tale of a monk who was hanged there, this after being found guilty of raping and killing a young girl who just so happened to be around the same age as the daughter, this event occurring back in the 16th century. As the investigators worked, the paranormal goings-on continued, all until one day when, as suddenly as this had all started, it stopped. The Pritchards eventually moved out. The house then became a popular destination for paranormal investigators. This popularity seemed to trigger the angry spirit as the Black Monk lashed out at these new trespassers into his domain. The Black Monk gained television fame when the house was featured in the TV series Paranormal Lockdown. The show recorded a range of strange activity and grew the tale of the Black Monk to almost legendary proportions. To this day, the house has remained a hotspot for debate, discussion, and investigation. Many claim this is all a hoax or some kind of publicity stunt. Others point to the numerous witnesses of the strange phenomena and the events that have occurred at number 30 East Drive on the Checkerfields estate, East Yorkshire, and say that it is proof of the paranormal. What do you think? Is this haunting proof of ghost? Or is this all just a made-up story for a family to gain themselves a little local fame? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, if you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.